In this video, I'm going to be talking all about COVID-19 and what that means for your federal student loans. Hey wealth builders, what's up? It's Akiva. Welcome back to another episode of The Bemused, where we are making sense of all things money for the bewildered and confused young adult. So earlier this week, we put out a poll on our Instagram, and if you guys don't follow us on Instagram yet, just follow us at The Bemused. We asked you guys in that poll whether you'd like us to make a video about COVID-19 and what that means for your student loans, and you guys are basically just like, duh, Akiva. So this is that video. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of things percolating, proposed bills here and there on both sides of our political parties. There's been talk about loan forgiveness and all kinds of stuff, but in this video, I'm breaking down the facts, what you can do about your student loans right now in the midst of this pandemic, and also talking a little bit about what is likely to come and more relief that should be available for us pretty soon. Pending, of course, that this stimulus bill that's in process kind of gets through. So let's jump right into it. First, let me start by saying that there are currently no provisions in place to deal with private student loans, and not every single loan that you might think is federally covered is actually covered by the plans that are in place and even the stimulus bill that's pending. So I just want to put that out there that this video is purely focused on federal student loans. So if you have private student loans, I would strongly recommend that you reach out to your individual lender and see what kind of relief they can offer to you. Situations like these also speak to the fact that federal loans do have their advantages, and sometimes pursuing options like refinancing don't necessarily cure everything, because if you refinanced your loans, for example, federal into private, right now you'd really just be at your lender's mercy instead of being able to take advantage of the federal benefits that the rest of us can take advantage of. So first, let's talk about the measures that are currently in place, things that you can do today and things that I've already started to do for myself to help with some student loan relief. And now, which types of loans are eligible for this relief? As I mentioned before, it is just federal loans, but even within that, you have to be careful because technically not every federal loan qualifies. For example, there are some FFEL loans and some Perkins loans that are actually held by commercial lenders instead of the Department of Education. And so if your loan is serviced by a commercial lender, those loans will not qualify for the aid that we're going to be talking about in this video. For example, I know at the school that I went to for undergrad, Perkins loans were held by the institution themselves, not by the federal government. So if you have Perkins loans, for example, you want to be really careful about that to make sure that they actually do qualify. So for those who have qualifying student loans, there are currently two forms of relief that you can take advantage of, with more likely to come in the pending stimulus package. The first is reducing interest rates to zero. So this is something that will happen automatically with your student loan servicer, is that all eligible loans will have their interest rates reduced to 0%, meaning that it's not going to be accruing interest, and that is effective March 13th of 2020. So it might take a few weeks for your loan servicer to update that information. And by the way, if you don't know who your loan servicer is, go ahead and visit studentaid.gov. Before, it was NSLDS, that's like this website that I can tell you guys about all the time, but now the Department of Education has smartened up and kind of consolidated everything into one platform. So if you go to studentaid.gov and log in with your FSA ID, you'll be able to see exactly who your loan servicer is. In my case, I deal with two different loan servicers. One of them is Nelnet, one of them is Great Lakes. And so those are the servicers that I deal with, and this is kind of the experience that I'm leaning on with this video as well. So for that interest rate freeze, like I said, there's no proactive measures that you need to take. Just be sure that you're checking your account to make sure that it is being applied appropriately. Like I said, right now it still seems like your account is accruing interest. Have no fear, it just takes a couple of weeks for them to kind of get everything together. But when everything kind of settles down, you should be able to look back and notice that your March accrued interest should be a lot lower than previous months, assuming that your interest rate freeze has gone into effect. The second form of relief currently in place is student loan forbearance, which essentially means that you have the opportunity to suspend your payments for a period of at least 60 days. They're going to keep revisiting it, and actually, if and when this stimulus bill goes into effect, this actually might not even be relevant anymore, but at least for now, you know that you will not have to make payments for at least 60 days. So this is where you may need to take some proactive action and actually reach out to your loan servicer to get this forbearance. Now, if your loan is already delinquent or more than 30 days past due, your loan servicer should be automatically putting that forbearance into effect for you. So what I recommend you do is that if you're already behind on your payments, is just to look at your account to make sure that that forbearance has gone into effect. Now, if you're like me and you're current with your payments, you will need to proactively reach out to your loan servicer in order to request that forbearance. So I actually did that earlier this week for both of my student loan servicers. I reached out to them. They usually have a quick form online that you can fill out, so you're not waiting on hold for 5 hours for the day, and you can just contact them and let them know that you are requesting the coronavirus forbearance. Now, requesting forbearance does have its downsides, and so I want to cover what you want to think about before you apply for that forbearance, before you go ahead and do so. The first thing is that if you are pursuing public service loan forgiveness and you're on an income-driven repayment plan, any payments that you make in that 60-day forbearance will not count toward the 120 payments that you need in order to have your student loans forgiven under PSLF. So keep that in mind if you are thinking about requesting forbearance. Also, for everyone, this applies to everyone, any unpaid interest that you have accrued on your account, at the end of that forbearance period, they're saying that they might add that amount onto the principal balance of your loan. So for example, right now, if your principal balance is $25,000, but you have $5,000 of interest that's been accruing because either you've been in school or you haven't been paying, or the payments you're making were not enough to cover the interest, once you request that 60-day forbearance, at the end of that 60 days, they might just take that $5,000 and add it to your principal. So now you have a principal balance of $30,000 that's going to be accruing at the interest rate when it kind of kicks back into effect. So keep that in mind, because that might result in you paying more money over the life of your loan, as opposed to if you just didn't go into forbearance in the first place. I decided to pursue the forbearance because I don't have a lot of interest sitting on my account. My payments are enough to at least cover the interest every month, and so that wasn't going to be a big issue for me. There'd be little to no interest that would have capitalized at the end of the forbearance period, so I went ahead and requested that forbearance for that reason. So you might be wondering, Akiva, I'm current with my payments. My job really wasn't affected by this whole pandemic. I'm still able to keep up with my monthly payments. Why would I put my loans into forbearance if I don't have to? And this goes back to a video that I made a while ago that a lot of you have seen and enjoyed about the most efficient and fastest way to pay off your student loan debt. And in that video, I talk about how you want to get your payments to be as low as possible. Because if you have no payment requirement, you're able to use all the money that you have to put toward your student loans and put it toward the student loan that you want to pay off first, which, if you're doing the debt avalanche method, which is the method that I recommend if you want to get your loans paid off the fastest, would be the loan that has the highest interest rate. So if you're taking advantage of the fact that your interest rate is frozen, reduced to zero for a period of time, and you don't have any payments due, you really can take all of that money and throw it toward the loan that has the highest interest rate debt, or use that to clear out the interest that is accrued on all of your loans. You really have the flexibility and the power to do whatever you want with that money and make it so that it's more effective for you than paying it according to whatever payment plan the loan servicer has specified for you. Or if you have higher interest rate debt out there than your student loans, and you would rather take that money that you're putting toward your student loans and put it towards something else like credit card debt or some higher interest debt that you just need to get out of your life right away, that's a pretty smart move. So those are some of the reasons why you might want to consider doing forbearance, even if you can still afford to make your monthly payments. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the provisions for student loans that are in the stimulus package that was passed by the Senate earlier this week. And why I'm talking about it is because the likelihood that this bill is actually going to make it all the way through, get passed by the House and signed by the president, is very likely. Really, we're just waiting for it to be passed by the House because the president has already said that he was going to sign it if it gets through the House, and so the likelihood that this bill is actually going to go through is pretty high. And so I want to make sure that I cover what the new provisions would be under that stimulus package. This is the same package that includes those stimulus checks that everybody's talking about. It's all under the same package, and so we're all just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen if that bill is going to get passed. And if it does, I will update either the description box or the first comment, the pinned comment in the comment section below, just to let people know that this information is indeed valid and it has indeed been passed by the powers that be. So in the stimulus package, the provision for federal student loans, again, there is no provision for private student loans, unfortunately, lists that they want to make sure that there is a automatic suspension on student loan payments for 6 months. So that means no one with qualifying federal student loans would need to make a payment until October of 2020. During that 6-month period, interest will be waived, so that is not something that we have to worry about. We will still be sitting on that 0% interest rate for that 6-month period. And the sweet part, like I said before, with the current plan in place with the forbearance, those with public service loan forgiveness kind of have the short end of the stick. But with the stimulus package, they're saying that even if you don't make any payments for those 6 months, that will not count against you for public service loan forgiveness. They'll count it as if you were making your payments for those 6 months, which is awesome. This 6-month break would be automatic, meaning that we don't have to do anything to get it. The loan servicers should be automatically putting those measures into place. Another provision is that they will not pursue collection measures against borrowers during this time. So that includes seizing your tax refunds or Social Security checks. They're not going to be seizing any of that income during this 6-month period. That also includes if you are to get a stimulus check, which obviously you might be getting, assuming this package goes through, because they kind of go hand in hand. They will not be seizing that money just because you owe money to your student loan servicer. They also noted that they were going to refund any money that was collected during the time of this pandemic. I'm not exactly sure what that cutoff date was when they're marking the beginning of the pandemic to be, but if it's been like the things that have been passed so far, March 13th seems to be the date that's been floating around, and so anything that was garnished or taken from you during that time up until now, they're saying that should be refunded. Another provision that doesn't necessarily affect us too much but affects employers that might be helping you pay your student loans is that employers who do that will not have to pay taxes on that money if they are helping you to pay off your student loans through the end of 2020. So those are the facts. That's what you can expect in terms of what you need to do for your student loans and things to think about and take advantage of if you think that it would be of best interest to you when it comes to repaying your student loans. As I mentioned, I have already taken advantage of that forbearance, and I will be checking in with my loan servicer, logging in every few days or so just to make sure that things are going as planned, and we'll also look out for updates from our government to see if that stimulus package makes its way through. I will link to other resources and notices that I find in the description box below for you guys to read and learn more information. And don't forget, if you want to cop a t-shirt just like this one, make sure to head over to our merch store on Etsy. That will be etsy.com/shop/thebemused. Head on over there to get all your Wealth Builders merch, just like this t-shirt. As always, post your comments and questions down in the comment section below. Let me know how you're feeling about this whole situation, if you have taken proactive measures or made changes to your student loan repayment plan because of this pandemic. Talk to us down in the comments below. You guys know we like responding to every single one of you guys, so we'll see you down there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.